me tell you something, brother. What are you gonna do, Wyatt family, when Hulk runs wild on you, brother? What's happening, brother? What are you gonna do when the Exulted One is right behind you, brother? Hola, amigos, it's Will here from Will's Custom Figures, coming at you today with a big bad breakdown of none other than Luke Harper, aka Brodie Lee. So please, guys, sit back and relax while I talk you through this WWE/AEW wrestling figure and all the details in between. First things first, why make Luke Harper Brodie Lee? Well, this is a bit of a tribute video. I'm actually filming this and I worked on this project with my son. And unfortunately, Brodie Lee, John Huber is his real name, he sadly passed away December 26th of 2020. He was a core member of the original Wyatt family. He was very, very close. He worked very, very closely with the likes of Bray Wyatt, Eric Rowan, and even Braun Strowman. He was only 41 years old when he passed away from a rare lung condition. And it was important to my son. He absolutely loved the Dark Order and the Wyatt family. So Luke Harper was a WWE Tag Team and Intercontinental Champion. He actually left mid that run to go to AEW. And there he probably had his greatest singles success. He became Brodie Lee, the TNT champion. He was also the leader of the Dark Order. And he was dubbed, as you can see, if you have a look at the back of his absolutely brilliant wrestling attire here, the Exulted One. So let's get into a little bit of a size comparison next to the one and only Hulk Hogan, brother, Terry Bollea. And as you can see, I used Hulk Hogan for the start of this video, but these two really do scale up well next to each other. And very, very happy with how it's turned out. Here's the Exulted One next to the Ultimate Warrior and one of my all-time faves, Goldberg. And here we are next to ECW's New Jack, another custom action figure that I recently created. Check back on the playlist if you're interested on seeing more about New Jack. And you know what? Let's actually, before I get into the breakdown of how I made Brodie Lee, here is Sergeant Slaughter. And as you can see, Sergeant Slaughter and New Jack, I got a little something in common. It is the same base body that I've used for this. And it just shows you how you can turn an absolutely iconic legend into somebody that's maybe a little bit more unappreciated and didn't have many of his own action figures. Hey man, and speaking of vintage and classic characters, here's none other than Bam Bam Bigelow. And as you can see, another Bam Bam Bigelow, except this time, this is actually going to be a Bray Wyatt. He's going to have the removable mask as well. I have a mask that I can pop on here, so stay tuned. If you like this video, I'm going to do a full review of my Bray Wyatt when that's finished. As you can see, he's got the awesome looking earrings. I'm going to add on the clay hair and add on all the details and the sculpt onto his outfit as well. So stay tuned for that, guys. And here are a few of the Mattel Basic or Mattel Elite versions of The Fiend and Eric Rowan. This is actually a custom Fiend that my son and I created using this awesome looking boiler suit that Eric Rowan's wearing. And here's the Exulted One next to Karl Malone from WCW and of course NBA Hall of Fame. A recent custom figure that I've put out on the channel with the awesome looking DDP South High Five logo on the front of his t-shirt. And here we go, getting into a little bit of the how-to now. So Bret Hart, the reason I've brought him in is because look how destroyed and battered and worn. This figure has seen better days, but it's had many, many playing hours, I'm sure. I'll pick this up at a car boot sale or a yard sale, as you might say in America. And as you can see, absolutely battered. There's much to be desired with this figure. It's definitely seen better days. But that's what I did here creating Brodie Lee. I had a look through my fodder drawer and I found a Brutus the Barber Beefcake upper body. As you can see with the iconic cutting scissor hands and the glove here on his left hand. Now, to create this, both arms had actually cracked off. And as you probably know from Brutus the Barber Beefcake, he does have a very, very odd upper torso. So what I did is I actually got a standard torso. I can't remember whose it was. I think it might have been, Let's have a look. Can I remember? Oh, yeah, it's a Sergeant Slaughter. There we go. So it's a Sergeant Slaughter lower half. I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong, but yeah, that looks very, very similar. And it does also, I don't know if you can see inside there, he does also have a very similar stance and the trousers that he's wearing. So I had a Sergeant Slaughter with the arms snapped off. I put on 2 of Brutus's arms. I know that when Brodie come down, he'd always do these weird things with his hands. So I thought using that arm and those hands would be quite good on this Brodie Lee action figure, especially using the Sergeant Slaughter base. I think the problem with using a Brutus the Barber Beefcake is that this hand here is sort of like right across the front torso. It wouldn't have looked the same. Of course, he stands quite tall in stature and is quite an impressive looking bloke. So I wanted to make sure I got that across in my figure. I've used a lot of Super Sculpey and Milliput clay. As you can see here, the most important thing firstly was getting the head attached on. This head doesn't articulate, it's more of a sculpture, I would say. However, this is an awesome looking head sculpt that was sent to me by a friend. I'm not sure if this is a Mattel head sculpt or an AEW head sculpt, but nevertheless, the likeness is absolutely brilliant. And here is an awesome looking school photo. Say cheese, Brodie Lee. Man, that guy's not saying cheese. He's pretty angry. So, sculpting the head on with Super Sculpey is the first stage, making sure that it's attached. Then it's a case of using a rolling pin, warming the Super Sculpey clay, rolling it out, and then slowly attaching it on and blurring the lines where it attached to the Sergeant Slaughter body. As you can see, I've rolled it probably about 0.3, 0.4 mil, attached it on here, cooked it, and then I've then added on all of the clay around here, including the hood. The final part of sculpting this figure was added on the sleeves. So adding on quite a bit of clay there just to chunk out the arms and also make sure it's got that nice 3D finish to it. Now, how I like to do the offcuts from using the clay for the lower half here, I use them to put on here. And then I'll again smooth the clay in, make sure it's all firmly attached on, and there is a seam, as you can see. The final part of doing this was using Milliput clay and just rolling these little rectangular shapes all the way down for the iconic Brodie Lee Exulted 1 look. And I'm so happy with how it turned out. The paints I've used Citadel Kislev flash colours on all of the skin tones that you can see on the body. But there's no other business or brand that's better, in my opinion, than Vallejo paints. I've used the awesome looking purples, golds to add these great looking accents and shoulder pads here. The nice seams all around the front of the outfit, the sleeves on the back and on the hood. Look at this logo, the Exulted 1. What an absolutely terrifying octopus. I don't know what the history behind this is, but very, very cool. And working on this project with my son was so important. I wanted to do a beautiful tribute to the man, the myth, the legend that was Brodie Lee, Luke Harper, the Exulted 1, for all of his achievements in the WWE and the Wyatt family. And in addition to that, the awesome AEW tribute that they did to his son, Brodie Jr., aka the Negative One. Of course, Bray Wyatt passed away in 2023. He's one of my son's favourite wrestlers. And then Eric Rowan, Braun Strowman, still being alive now and still paving the way in the wrestling business. I felt like I had to do this tribute. So guys, my final reflections on this figure. It was a family project. He was a powerful, unique, respected by all professional wrestler. That crazy coat, the beard, the intense gaze. He brought something to the wrestling business that not many other people did. I had seen Luke Harper wrestle live a couple of times in the past when he came to the UK, and it was an absolute honour to get to do that. So Noah, what do you think of the figure?
5 stars.
I get people reach out to me from all walks of life that want to immortalise a family member, a friend, somebody that they know, love, respect, aspire to be like in action figure form, and getting to work on this guy who was renownedly one of the nicest guys in the wrestling business was an honour for me. So thank you to my son for working on this with me and giving me input throughout the whole project. In addition, let me know in the comment section below what you think of this video. Guys, please like, comment, subscribe. And what's next for this channel? As I mentioned before, I've got Bray Wyatt coming up. I've got a finished Norman Smiley with booty wiggle hands. I've got Pokemon, Caterpie, Metapod and Butterfree coming up. I've even got the Goblin Queen coming very, very soon. So please, guys, Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and if you've been watching for the last 10 minutes or so here on YouTube, it has been a pleasure. I'll see you guys on the next one. Adios.